That's a little comedy, I guess it's called. It was a fun scene to do. He's wonderful to work with. Notice something though. Whenever I did a scene with Jonathan Harris, he was a hell of an actor, and he knew what worked. And I might do a scene with him, like that one, morning, and basically the scene would be over and they'd go out. But every scene I ever did with him, he always made sure he had the last word. If he had the last word, then the camera went out, it was on him. He might go, indeed, or like he did then. But he always goes out, and the last bit of the scene is on him, which is smart. I didn't care about doing that kind of stuff because, I don't know, it didn't mean that much to me, but he made it work for himself, and he became the star of the show, so good luck. But it was wonderful working with Jonathan, it really was. And I miss him. I've been back east for a long while, so the only time I used to see Jonathan is when we did conventions, like Chilla or San Diego Comic-Con or whatever it would be. And we used to go out and have a Rob Roy or two together and tell inappropriate stories, you know. So we had a good time. He was a wonderful guy. I never got to know him as a person too well when I was doing the show because I used to hang out mostly with Billy Mooney, the kid. And somebody asked me, I'll explain. The reason I used to hang out with Billy Mooney is because Billy was 10 years old and had the mind of a 28-year-old. I was 28 and had the mind of a 10-year-old. So it worked out perfectly. I haven't seen these clips, by the way. Even though you sent them, thank you for sending them, but I didn't know what to do with them. I'm not tech-minded. This guy, we lost him about 20 years ago. He was down in Argentina. He was invited down there by Juan Perón. He played Zorro before he did Lost in Space. And Juan and his wife, Evita, they loved Zorro. So Guy went down there, and he was hanging out with them, basically. He spent a lot of time with Juan Perón. And he was there about 3 years, and this is after Lost in Space, of course. And he had a stroke, and he died. Died in his apartment, and he was alone in his apartment and had to stand there for like 3 days before anyone found out that he had died. So when I heard that, I found myself a woman to get married again right away, so I wouldn't have to die alone. But he was wonderful. I used to do a lot of things with this guy. We used to go to the horse races together, and I used to go. We just hung out together. He had a red Ferrari that I loved to drive with him in. I had a blue Fiat, and he never went with me. And what I say about Guy is that Guy loved intelligent, beautiful woman, fine, classic red wine, and symphonies and great music. That was Guy. Me, I liked blondes, beer, and rock and roll. So we were opposites, but as opposites, we get along beautifully, okay? Now, the reason I became so good on this show is, what do you notice? Look at how I had that gun, right? See, I did a cowboy western, and I knew how to strap on a 45. Oh, that's not a 45. As a matter of fact, I did Johnny Ringo, my first series, and I had a Colt 45. Then I did the Detectives with Robert Taylor, and I had a 38 Special that I used to wear under here. Then I did Lost in Space and had a laser. I ran out of guns. My career was over. What was next, you know? But I don't remember. That pistol was, that was second season. That is my favorite outfit, though, that I wore. Because that was most cowboy-like, you know, collar and everything. But and you'll see how I stand. You know, you do shows over and over, and when they shoot you from the feet up, what do you do with your hands? You know, every politician's always doing this and this and this and this and this, but I couldn't do that, so I just put my hands on my hips and try to look sexy. Okay. I can't even change a light bulb. Never mind trying to put a robot back together. But it sounded like I knew something, didn't it? I didn't. Let me tell you something about Don West. And in the new book, you'll really get it. I'm being very honest about it. about the character of Don West. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you were dashing here. People say, oh, the dashing young Don West hero and all that. He was a screw-up. He never did anything right. I have a section called the John and Don Show. We did so many things wrong. We should have had our own series, you know, just the Don and Show, all the things we did wrong. But we had to do things wrong, so Will and the robot could come and save us, I guess. I don't mind it. It was great. It was great. It was great doing it. Go ahead. Oh, this is one of my favorite scenes. This is nice. Because Jonathan and I, we hated each other in the series. I hated him. I'm going to kill him. And we're caught in a cave. And I remember falling down the cave, and he's up there above me. I said, help me, Smith, help me, help me. He said, that was a very clumsy thing of you to do, to John, falling down like that. But when we're in the cave, and we're dying. Very bad dying scene. Gasping for breath. Pretty bad, but yeah. And at the end, of course, we refer to each other. I say, where are you going, Zach? He said, Zach, indeed. You know, but it was like, that was a nice scene. It wasn't very well acted. I should have died. Then it would have been real. But it was fun. I don't know, fun. But it was just nice. It's nice to look at it now. I haven't seen these clips for 50 years. And I know my friends brought tears to your eyes. Well, because you're friendly with Jonathan and me, so you thought we both were going to die. But Curtis, we didn't die, so you can cheer up. He's a friend of mine from Boston. Great kid. He's living down here now. Curtis. Anyway, 67. Okay, wow. Any questions about anything before we move on? The stuff you saw that you want to ask?
Curtis. Can I ask you a question?
How
come you didn't make Major West a hothead?
Why was he a hothead?
Well, yeah, he was always a hothead. You know, like always, Dr. Smith, you're just mean sometimes. How come?
I was mean to Dr. Smith?
Yeah.
Well, most fans say, why didn't you throw him off the ship? That's what I should have done. I should have kicked his ass right off the ship. All the stuff he put us... When you read the new book, you'll see the things that he put us through.
Oh, I remember that, but the character was like...
Well...
hostile to certain people.
Well, that's Don West. Yeah. I refer to that, you know. Mark Goddard's not that hothead, is he?
No.
Yeah, you don't think so. Huh? You should try me sometime. No, that's a good question. I don't know. Don West was a hothead. I think I started off the show. I think the reason is, to tell you the truth, and answer your question, it might be this, goes way back. When I was cast to do Lost in Space, I was just cast. I didn't audition for it or anything. My agent said, do this show. I said, what is it? He said, it's a science fiction show. I said, I don't like science fiction. I don't know about it, you know. I said, I want to be Paul Newman, not Flash Gordon. And he said, do this pilot called Lost in Space. It's about a family lost in space. And just do it. And nobody will ever see it. Take the money, you know, 20 days of good pay, and then forget about it. And it'll never sell. Well, he was wrong. So I did the show, and I'm being honest with you, very candid, very honest. I wasn't crazy about doing Lost in Space when it began. But then I get to know the people, and they made it nice. My crew members, the guys I worked with, Jonathan, everything. But because I wasn't, at the beginning, I wasn't happy about doing it, I had an attitude. I had an anger that I was doing it, and that came through. When I finished the show and I did a musical with Liza Minnelli on Broadway, in the, what do you call it when you pass out the program? That's good, thank you, program, I remember that. When you pass out the program, in the program it had Mark Goddard as my character I played, and I listed all the credits. And I didn't list Lost in Space, because I was kind of like, I didn't know if I was ever going to work again after the show, because it was a difficult show to do. Only after years later that I realized that we had an impact on young people that grew up to become, you know, good citizens and astronauts and computer engineers and all that kind of stuff, that we had an impact, that I became proud of doing this silly little show I thought it was. And I really grew to love it. And then when I went out and met the fans like you guys, a lot of them that liked the show a lot, and made me feel bad. I thought, my God, these people really like the show. I shouldn't feel that way about it. So I did a complete 360 in my attitude about it. And I've come to love it. And because it is what it is. And it was certainly a show that brought me here. If I hadn't done Lost in Space, I wouldn't have met you guys. I wouldn't be down here, you know? And we never got any residuals from this show. From 1974 is when they started paying residuals. Like you've seen it on Sci-Fi and all these programs, MeTV. We don't get a penny, which is fine with me because I thought about it. And if I got $10 per episode for the last 50 years, for all the times it was shown, I'd be very, very rich. And I'd probably be sitting on a beach in California drinking Mai Tais instead of doing what I ended up doing, which was becoming a special education teacher of young people back in Boston. So God was looking after me. Worked out well. Thank you. Okay. There I am drinking the Mai Tai. I can't stand violence. That's why I'm not here. I took off so I wouldn't have to watch him get beat up. How come I'm not? What did I go to? Did the guy knock me down? I just disappeared. Well, at least Judy's looking after me. That's good. In my new book, when I talk about there's an astrogator on the floor where we work, you know, the inside of the space station, whatever it is, spaceship. And so when we were supposed to be in air and we were getting bombarded by things and meteors, we'd have to go to the right like this. And Erwin Allen would stand out there and he had a tin can with a drumstick and hit it, boom. And every time he hit it, boom, we'd have to go like this and the camera would go the opposite way. So it looked like we were topsy-turvy in the ship. And then he'd go, boom, and we have to go back this way. Well, halfway across the deck, there was the astrogator. And we'd go like this over, and I'd always make sure we'd try to use the astrogator to go over. So I always made sure where Judy was, so if I missed the astrogator, I'd have something nice and soft to land on, you know? And she was soft. Go ahead. I forget his name, but I think he was in the Willy Wonka. Yeah, we had some pretty good guest stars, though. We did. Michael Rennie especially, Warren Oates especially, Wally Cox, Kurt Russell when he was a little kid, Michael and Sarah. We had a lot of good guest stars on the show. So that was nice to work with these different people. Go ahead. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Look at me again. Well, I'm always out there lying down. I'm always getting knocked out. You think I was a hero? I don't think so. Oh boy, I don't know about that one, but I'll tell you, Michael Conrad, who played the guy that gets blown out and whatever, that mask he wore, that was the prototype to Planet of the Apes. And Michael Conrad was the cop at the beginning of, was that original, that cop show that was so good that started, somebody mentioned it this morning, started some of the good TV writing. Hill Street Blues. He was the sergeant that came out at the beginning and said, you're going to go here, you're going to do that, so forth. Michael Conrad, nice actor. He and I studied at the actor studio together. Real nice guy. And he played Creech. He played the guy with the mask that was from the, that was the prototype to Planet of the Apes, because the same guy on 20th Century Fox did them both. Yes, sir, you had a question? Oh yeah, there was someone in the robot. His name was Bobby May, and I do a lot of writing about him in my new book. Bobby May fans won't be happy, but I tell the truth. You know, I just have to do it. I mean, there are stories about Bobby May. I could go on, I could be here 5 hours and tell you stories you wouldn't believe. But I won't do it. But he was, yes. And so he had a, sometimes he just wear the top of it, so we call them the Bermuda shorts, and he'd go around like this. And that's how he walked, you know, like this. You know, he really thought he was the, robot. I go into it, you know, but I won't go into it today. But he worked hard, and there was a lot. I'm not taking anything away from his work. He worked very hard. He carried that thing around on him, and he did a good job. It was his attitude outside of the robot that would get to you. Maybe I'll share a story afterwards. I don't know. Okay. That's good. You guys didn't get to see me get tortured. I guess. I don't know what happened. Oh, here's the next one. Anyway, that was Robbie the robot. That's why we had it in there. Who was the robot in The Day the Earth Stood Still. He also was in our show a couple times. And he was built by the same man who built our robot, Robert Kenosha.
The Forbidden Planet.
Huh?
Forbidden Planet.
What did I say?
Day the Earth Stood Still.
They're all the same. You've seen one, you've seen them all. Okay. How did I get them mixed up?
They're both from the same time period.
Same time period? And that my favorite actress was in Forbidden Planet. Let me see. Okay. What? Hold it, because we're going to keep going now. Remember it. Okay.
Ready to go to Hades?
This guy here, Gerald Moore, who plays the devil, he was in Johnny Ringo with me. He played a bad guy. He shot my girlfriend, Gloria DeHaven, and pissed me off when he did that. With my girlfriend. But he's a wonderful actor. And I didn't realize he was so tall. Maybe he's got boots on. I don't know. Good, play it then. Now that shows you what a hero. I mean, Don Westwood's good. You know, I could really, they do the shuffle, but they didn't let me hit anybody, so I couldn't hit him. Anyway, those are some of my favorite scenes. Oh, this is my very favorite. I guess this is my favorite show, The Antimatter Man, and the bad John Robinson is in the cage. No, the good John Robinson's in the cage, and the bad Don West is down below. And this is what I love as an actor, when you can get angry and really get mad, you think of things like what your wife gave you for breakfast or something like that, you know, and you get mad and you, I'll show you how mad I got. Even the bad Don West couldn't fight. I don't know. That was a nice show. It's Guy's show, and it was well done. It was a nice show. The Anti-Matter Man, which people ask me what's my favorite show, and I always say that one. And it was Guy's show, but I love the fact that I could wear a beard and have a bad eye and be a bad guy, you know? Because Don West is not a bad guy, though, huh? This is, this is from the Hungry Sea. And we're going over land, and we come to we go across because it's ice, the temperature's dropped 150 degrees, and now it got hot, and now it melted all the ice, and it's become the Hungry Sea. And we're going back, and I'll explain a little bit to this as we go along. This is a fun scene. This is a fun scene. Okay, now listen, I'll tell you a few things about this. First of all, not bad. Consider there's no computer graphics. All that stuff is done on stage 17. With outside is a little pond. They had a whirlpool and did all that with little miniatures. No computer graphics. It was all done as you see it, as it was. And on the stage, we were on like a raft type holder, and they could make it go up and down and around and so forth like that. And they had above us tons of water that they threw over us when we were, and it would come up, and then the water would come in, gallons of it, you know. And I often say, you know, wow, that it was a lot of fun that day. Yeah, getting wet and just doing it, and that's what I got paid, that $5.75 for that, doing that stuff. That was minimum then, by the way, back in the '60s, $5.75 an hour. That's a lot of money back in the '60s. Do you believe me? Oh, good. Okay, you know what? Well, I have time for one story, right? Okay. Whenever I do conventions, and I'm doing with Billy and Marta and June and everybody, I started way back. I told a story. Now every time I do a convention, Billy says, Mark, do the story. And so every time I end up a convention, for the audience, for the people, I tell this story. It's my favorite story. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I live in Massachusetts, and I was back at Nantasket Beach. Paragon Park, it's called. They have the roller coaster, the Ferris wheel, all those kind of things. And I was back there. It was the second year of Lost in Space, and my daughter Melissa was 4 years old. It was 50 years ago. She was 4 years old. And she was on a teacup ride with her cousin, and I was standing near them, and I was holding their little sweaters while they were on the teacup ride. And about 35 feet from where I was one of those outdoor beer gardens. You've seen them at fairs and things like that, where they selling the beer and drinking the beer. And there was this guy who was sitting on one of those little stools, those chrome stools with the red top, and he could spin around in them, you know. And this guy standing there drinking his beers, and I'm looking at him. He's spinning around. He keeps looking at me, shaking his head, drinking another beer, shaking his head. Oh, well, and he'd get up. He came over to me and he said, "Excuse me, mister, but I got to tell you something. You look just like the guy that's on Lost in Space." And, you know, he said, "You've got the same color hair, you got the same features, you got the same body feature and all that. You look just like this guy." He said, "You look like this guy so much. The Inquirer has a contest for people. If they take a picture of a look-alike celebrity and send it to the Inquirer, I'd take your picture and I'd send it in, I bet I'd win." But I don't have a camera, so I can't win anything, I guess, huh? So anyway, you look just like that guy. I don't believe it. Then he stopped and he came back to me and said, oh, excuse me. He said, oh, geez. I'm sorry, my name's Patrick. I put my hand out and I shook his hand and I said, I'm Mark Goddard. Oh my God, holy Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I don't believe this. Wow, you've even got the same name. That's it. Thank you.
We really appreciate Mark coming all the way from Boston and all of his work.
You're all great people. Thank you.